little bit better. All right, you ready for our adventure?
Yeah.
Quick show of hands. Who's taken this tour before? Anyone? Fantastic. Welcome back. Used to come here every summer on our way down from Connecticut. Yep.
New York.
Where in Connecticut?
Middletown, born and raised. Of course I do. We had a Sunoco station on Route 66 in Portland for 20 years. Yep. A lot of folks don't know this, but before Disney opened up, this was the main attraction in Florida. One of our boat captains, Captain Oscar Collins, has been driving these boats for 53 years now. All right, guys, kids, listen up.
Kids, listen up.
As we go along, I'm going to ask you some questions. At the end of the tour, there's going to be a test. Those kids who fail the test will swim back to shore.
Oh my goodness.
Are you ready for your first test question?
Oh, look at the
You guys know what the water temperature is of the river today? Anyone know? Give me a guess.
Just guess.
I don't know.
What do you think?
59 degrees.
No, a little higher.
72.
Very good. What time of year is it? 72.
All year round?
I said kids. Not following directions, see?
Asking.
Maybe there might be some parents swimming today. All right, folks. Little history about Silver River runs 7 miles east into the Ocklawaha River, then into the St. Johns, and eventually into the Atlantic Ocean. That's why we do get manatees here in the colder months. All the springs are fed by the underwater aquifer. Water here is 99.8% pure. As we go along, if you don't see what I'm talking about, please raise your hand. I'll reposition the boat. If you have any questions as well, please raise your hand. I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge. What I don't know, we'll look up on Google, or we'll call my wife. She has all the answers. All right, our first spring is called the Spring of Stars, dedicated to all the movies, actors, and actresses over the years. First movie produced here was back in 1916 called The Seven Swans. Some other notables are Legend with Tom Cruise, all the Tarzan movies, and one of my favorites, Smokey and the Bandit 3 with Jackie Gleason. He actually stayed here in town. My wife got to meet him and got his autograph. All right, we're going to turn to our first spring here in just a second. So this first spring is about 26 feet deep. It's very deceiving. You're looking through regular half-inch glass. It's not tinted or magnified. Each pane of glass weighs over 250 pounds each. See a whole bunch of little white rocks down there? That's actually shell and limestone. That shell and limestone underground helps purify the water. Now every spring is very unique in itself. This one happens to be like a little ledge.
Whoa, turtle! That is cool, man.
So if you look just outside this little ledge right here, let me spin around, you'll see it looks to be like a little piece of black granite, and just on the other side of that is where the spring opens up. You guys see that? So anytime you see those little white rocks floating around, that is water flowing, and that means we have an opening there.
That's one of the springs where the water is coming from. The main one is
Now we do have about 26 different species of fish here, including catfish, we have bass, we have gar, we have gator gar, we have mullet the fish, not the haircut, although I hear that's coming back. And we even have tilapia. Yes, we do have turtles. So our most common turtles here are the yellow belly and red belly slider turtles. We have soft shell turtles and snapping turtles as well. Here's your next test question. Pay attention, kids. You ready? What do you call more than one turtle? No? So like if you have like a whole bunch of fish, you call them a school of fish, right? A whole bunch of birds, it's a flock of birds. What do you call more than one turtle? What's the terminology? What's the scientific term for more than one turtle? You know? Give me a guess and I'll give you the answer. One more guess.
I think a pod.
A pod? No. You know what they are? Called a shell station. Alright, this next one's called Creature Springs, named after that movie Creature from the Black Lagoon. Raise your hand if you've seen that movie. apparently I'm the only one that had nightmares as a 12-year-old for about 3 weeks. Well, right between these two rocks is where the creature would jump out of, right there. This one's about 30 feet deep. We actually have a replica of that costume on display in the Education Center. About 2 years ago during Spring Fest, we actually had a young man in full costume riding the boats. That was pretty cool. I got a picture with him.
If they would film films here, there's some guy in a diver suit down there with do you see it? Like it's underneath the rock right here.
Mommy, just see his thing like raptor. Mom, I just see his thing like.
Sir?
The step here?
About 30. About 30
Oh
at
my
the
gosh,
beach.
I
Yep.
see a stick right there.
So our next one is called the Abyss. Years ago we had a female diver come out here and dive this cavern. You gotta notice it's very narrow. It goes down about 5 feet, comes over and drops all the way down. She was able to make it down 81 feet before she had to turn around. Years later, on a second attempt, they brought a weighted line with them with over a mile rope and dropped that rope down and never touched the bottom. So we have no idea how deep this one is. Do we have any kids that want to go for the third attempt? Raise your hand. Anyone? How about you? Want to give it a try? What do you think?
They have no
We'll play it back up. That's fine.
Crap.
81 feet.
Wow, look
That's so deep. Can I hit that? 180.
How long can you hold your breath?
So they threw a mile-long
You don't
rope,
know?
mile-long rope, and it never touched the bottom.
25 seconds.
You have any folks on board from up north? Where are you guys from?
Illinois.
And you guys are from Connecticut, right? You guys get a lot of snow this year, or didn't you?
Not now, but
Oh, now you were. Did you guys know it snows here in Florida? Year round? It's snowing right now. I'm going to show you.
What? Wow.
This next one's called a Florida snowstorm. This one's really pretty. Check that out. Looks like a big old snow globe.
Oh, cool.
But you don't want to put it in the questions. You want to look. But you want to look for it. Oh my God, look at the
Purifies the water even more. He said it purifies the water even more.
It's just the pieces. Mommy, that was
You haven't seen the biggest one yet.
You can see what it got its name. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. All right, folks, off to my right here, we call that Bird Island. And how's our two aquatic birds, the cormorant and the ahiga? What makes these two birds unique is they don't have the normal oil in their feathers like a duck has. So that allows them to dive underwater, it'll capture the fish, bring it up to the surface, flip it up in the air, and swallow it whole. Now the ahiga, they're known as a snake bird. It's like a snake going through the water. Has a long, skinny beak. That bird will actually pierce the fish through the flesh, get stuck halfway down their beak. They'll come up to a branch and actually beat the fish off their beak till it gets to the end. Then they'll flick it up in the air and swallow it whole. Now the second bird, the cormorant, has an orange hook beak. Once they're done diving underwater, they do have to dry their wings off so they can fly again. So a lot of times you'll see them on the branch doing this and they're not waving to you, they're drying their wings off. Think about this, these birds are very smart. Every fish has a defense mechanism. They have spines throughout their bodies. So if they're to swallow that fish tail first, it gets stuck in their throat. They'll sit there and time it right every single time so it goes down head first. If you look off to my right, let's see if they're still there. There's two little babies left right over here. So if you were here about a month ago, all these nests were completely filled with little baby birds. So when they're born, they have tan and white feathers. As they start to age, they turn gray and black, just like mom and dad. Those are the last two. Every single one of those nests was completely filled about a month ago. Those are our last couple ones hanging out. Well, let's move on down the river. Got a whole bunch of turtles down there. Another shell station all in the back. See, kids?
You haven't missed our house.
Oh, wow, look what we missed. All right, guys, right over to my right here, we call it Gator Daycare Center. This is where we drop the kids off for about 20 minutes. Parents, any volunteers today? Who wants to drop their kid off over here?
Next to you in the drop.
I don't know. I don't see one.
Where the gators
He's usually not out front like that. That's pretty good. Hopefully he stays there all day. Let's go take a closer look. You guys know how to measure a gator without losing fingers and toes? Anyone know how to do that? Oh, he is moving on us. We bothered him a little bit. There he is, off to our left. So if you picture between their eyes to the snout of their nose in inches, convert that over into feet, that gets you pretty close. See his tail?
See
Straight
it?
ahead.
Oh, right there?
Yeah, near the tree. You see the.
He usually sit, you can see the slide where he sits over here to the left, and normally that's where he's at. You can, who wants to go out there and pet him?
You can see his skin.
You see him?
Oh my goodness.
But no, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Stand up, you'll be able to see his back right over here.
Oh my goodness, Jack.
Back.
The one in the
It's in the
yeah.
back.
Kita yun na yun. Kita mo ga.
Where?
Yeah. By the tree. You see his back.
Yeah. I don't see it. Mommy, I don't see it.
Stand up. Stand on the stool.
You wanna get out?
See him right
You wanna
there.
get outside?
Want to go outside and see him? It's only a couple feet here. You can
Yeah,
make
you
it.
can swim.
You can run really fast. And walk on
Yeah,
water.
I can see it. I can see it. I saw it. I saw it.
There he is.
I smell it. I smell it now. Mommy. What is this for?
What's what for? The glass, so you can see. You can see underneath. Otherwise, you only can see what's out here.
Oh, is it plastic in there?
What's that?
Glass?
All right, this next one's called the Spring of Life. This one is my favorite. Let's go take a closer look.
What is it? Something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw it.
Coming in right behind you. If you can go forward a little bit, please, I'd appreciate it. If you look straight down here in just a second, you can see a long formation. First glance, that looks like the backbone to a dinosaur, and that's exactly what the scientists thought it was for many years. Finally went down there and tested it, and guess what? It's just a rock. Pretty neat looking rock though, isn't it? We're going to go back over here in just a second. Did you guys catch that long piece of wood right there? Just right next to it. Any ideas what we might have, kids? Any guesses? Don't say a tree. I'll give you a hint. What kind of boat did the Indians use to travel through the rivers? That's right. It's part of a dugout canoe. So about 30 years ago, University of Florida came down here, picked up a small piece, hauled it up to Gainesville, and they carbon dated back to the 1500s, the Tamaulipan Indians. So it's made out of cypress. It's very, very dense, impossible to carve out. What's the process they use before they can carve it out? Anyone know? Any guesses? I heard it up there, nice and loud. They burned it. That's right. Very good. Indians were very smart. If you guys get a chance, we have a world-class museum on the property after you leave the park. I went a few months ago, and I went after hours. I could have spent the whole day there. It is absolutely fantastic. Didn't even know. I knew we had a museum here. I'd never been. I'm like, this is, it's interactive and everything. It's a really nice museum. All right, this next one's called the Blue Grotto. What makes it unique? It is a first magnitude spring. What that means, it puts out 100 cubic feet of water per second. It is the second largest spring in the park per volume, not by size. Now, in total, the springs flowed 850 million gallons every 24 hours at one time. Now we're down to about 550, 650. State took over about 8-9 years ago. Since then, our nitrate levels are down 30 to 40%, so the river is much healthier.
Where did you get the water? Where did you get the water?
Where do we get the water? It's coming up from the ground. It's coming from the spring. That's right there. Alright folks, we're going to head over to the other side of the river. Back in the 60s, there was a TV series called Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges. This is the actual dock they filmed at. Most of all the other scenes are done in the Bahamas and a few in California. Got a nice little pathway runs parallel to the river. That'll take you right down to that dock. Now this was a working dock. It wasn't built just for the TV series. They launched a jungle cruises out of here. So take a closer look.
Wait, that's salt water or that's...
Oh yeah.
And there it is, the Sea Hunt dock, untouched from the 60s. If you look all the way to the end of the dock, you'll see the slips where the boats would dock and pick up passengers. I actually remember waiting in line here. Isn't that neat? I wish they would restore it and use it. That'd be pretty cool. There's no alligators. Sharks ate them all, right? Folks, hear about the monkeys we have here in the park? You guys know the history behind that, how it started? So back in 1938, the gentleman that was running the park, his name was Colonel Tui. Kind of think about him like he's a Walt Disney. So he's got this big park, there's different rides, there's different animals here, so he figures he wants to add to the attractions. So he purchased about a half a dozen of Reese's macaque monkeys, put them on an island not too far from here, thinking, well, they're on an island, they can't go anywhere, and take people out by boat to see them at any time. Drops them off, goes back 2 hours later, and guess what?
They're all gone.
Yeah, they swam off. They're excellent swimmers. They've been found as far north as Jacksonville and St. Augustine, far south as Tampa and Fort Lauderdale. Now, I do carry the hepatitis virus. They've never infected anyone, but if you get really close, they'll fling poo at you, and there's a way of saying, thanks for visiting the park. I'm not making that up. One of our volunteers, we named her the Poo Lady. She found out the hard way. Now, these guys are not the ones from the Tarzan movie. These guys are about yay big, tan with a white chest, and they travel in troops. There's always one dominant male. There's an old-timer here that hangs out. He's pretty big. He's all gray now. He got kicked out of the troop, so we'll see him by himself every now and then. Here's the crazy thing. According to FWC estimates, there's over 3,000 running wild in Florida. And I've had people from Fort Lauderdale on the boat tell me, yep, I got them in my backyard. There was an article about them finding a few up in St. Augustine last year, if I remember correctly. So this next one is called Cypress Springs. Pretty simple idea here. There's a big old cypress tree right down the middle. So we've got to be real careful getting in here, make sure we don't break the boat. Otherwise we have to swim back. But what's underneath the tree is kind of neat. I'd like to show that to you real quick. A few more turtles off to that right here on that log. But let's take a look at what is underneath this tree. Guys see it yet?
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's a butterfly.
What do you see underneath the tree?
Another log?
Another log.
How about now? Do you not see the boat?
Where's the boat?
Take a look right down the middle.
Oh yeah.
What kind of boat has a rectangle right down the
Oh my
middle? Any
God. Yeah,
guesses?
Jesse, look.
What kind of boat have a rectangle down the middle?
This one?
It's one of the, that's right. It's one of the original glass bottom rowboats from the 30s and 40s that sank.
Oh
All
no.
those people had to swim back to shore and there were no refunds. And that rule still holds true today.
What's a refund?
So, if you guys are good swimmers, kids pay attention. Remember, if we do end up having to swim back, you don't have to be the fastest swimmer, just not the last swimmer. We're going to start heading back to port. We got a few more things to show you and some fun stuff to talk about on our way back. Look off to my right here. Through that tree line, you'll see a big white building. It's called the Twin Oaks Mansion. That was our concert hall at one time. Some notables are Reba McEntire, Willie Nelson, and Montgomery Gentry. Get a chance to walk down there. It's an absolutely beautiful building. They'll do concerts outside on there, on the porch, front porch. So at the start of the trip, I did mention we do get manatees here. So I'll kind of go over that with you. A lot of people think manatees are fat and blubbery like whales, but they're actually not. They're actually all intestine, stomach, and lungs, and because of this, they can't control their body temperature. So in the winter months, when the oceans get to the mid-60s, we have to seek refuge in the springs, which are 72 degrees year-round. If they were to stay out in the cold water, they would get thermal shock and they would end up dying. Now, when a manatee is active, they come up for air every 7 to 10 minutes. When they're asleep, they go all the way to the bottom, they rest on the bottom. They'll come up about every 20 minutes or so, take a breath of air, and go right back down. They'll do that for hours without waking up. Matter of fact, if you go swimming with the manatees in Crystal River, they'll ask you not to hover over a sleeping manatee, and that's exactly why. Manatee will eat 10% of its body weight a day, and they eat that eelgrass right down there, so think about that. Adult manatee can be 1,000 pounds or more, so that's 100 pounds of eelgrass every single day.
Sounds like you, buddy.
Manatees can get up to 30 miles an hour in a short distance to get out of the way of danger. Okay, make up your mind, left or right, or underneath. Just smile. All right, ready for the next two test questions, kids. You ready? What is the closest relative to the manatee? Anyone know? I'll give you a hint. You'll find it at the zoo, and it is a land animal. What kind of animals do we have at the zoo?
A zebra?
Nope. A little bit bigger, a little bit fatter than a zebra. What do you think? Go ahead. Nope, not a crocodile. Keep going.
Hippo?
Really close. What's just as big as a hippo?
Oh, elephant?
Elephant is right. So picture elephant without the trunk. Mouth is very similar. Elephant has 3 to 4 nails on its hoof. Manatee has 3 to 4 nails on its front flippers. Ready for the next fun question? What did the pirates call the manatees? What did the pirates call the manatees? Anyone know? I call them floating potatoes. Starts with an M. Mermaids. Alright, if you guys look over to my right here, just beyond the seawall, you'll see a statue of Chief Osceola. He's the chief of the Seminole tribe. His father was Scottish. His mother was Native American. They are the only Indian tribe in the U.S. that have not signed a peace treaty with the U.S. government to this day. It's really hard to spot at first. He blends into the palm trees really well. He's off to our right, right about there. I can see him from here. That's why they call it the snake bird. See how it goes through the water off to our left? How it's like a snake going through the water. Speaking of palm trees, continue looking to the right. You'll see a horseshoe-shaped palm tree. What's he got there? Just a turtle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good sized one. The bigger ones are the females. Look off to my right, you'll see that horseshoe-shaped palm tree. Isn't that amazing what Mother Nature can do?
He's posing for the camera.
He is. We taught him to do that. All the animals are on the payroll here. All right. This last one is called Mammoth Springs, not because it's the largest spring in the park, but because they actually found mammoth bones here. Mammoth bones, like the dinosaur. So this spring's about 65 feet semicircle. The boardwalk actually follows the shape of the cave in the spring, about 50 feet deep in the center. It is also first magnitude spring, one of the world's largest artesian wells. Told by the divers the force of water coming out of this cave is so strong they can't get in it. So start looking down here. It's going to drop off drastically in just a second.
The water's gonna get deep, clear.
And down we go. Should see a neat looking blue fish down there called a blue shad. Believe it or not, that's 50 feet or better. Doesn't seem like it, but it is. You can look off to the boardwalk and see the water line. We're down a couple feet right now, but once we start getting our normal summer rains on a regular basis, that water level is going to go back up again.
Mommy, where's the dinosaurs? Oh, algae!
Yep, you're right, Kuya.
You can see how fast the water
I never
is
seen
flowing.
There's one
underwater
right there.
algae.
Way on the bottom.
Algae!
That's algae, that's right. Very good.
No, Kuya, the fish is eating the algae.
Look right there, you see the bottom there? Wow, that's a lot
All right,
of
folks, we
algae.
do have one more stop. We saved the best for last. We have 3 statues here representing 3 Greek gods, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. They're using a TV series back in the 60s called Icebound, Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. They're also used in 2 Bond movies, Never Say Never Again and Moonraker. They're 7 feet tall, made out of fiberglass, and weighted down with concrete. Get your cameras ready. Let's go take a look.
There's 3 statues, right? Look for the statue.
Yeah, I already saw
You
it.
saw it?
Yeah.
See the statue. Whoa, you see the fish jump? They're eating it.
Oh my gosh, this is a lot of algae.
And there they are, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. I'm going to spin around so you guys can get some really good pictures here.
Where? I don't see it.
See right there.
So about once a month,
Oh, I see
divers
it.
come out and clean the boats for us and give the statues a shave and a
Whoa.
haircut as well. Don't they look handsome? You're laughing. 2 years
Right in
ago,
the
the one in the
water.
middle had a goatee and a ponytail.
Why are they in the water?
Eat the algae, let me eat the algae. I never tried algae.
Why is it in the
It's
water,
so
though?
gross.
They were, the top of their heads were all white 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. That's how quickly the algae's growing. Because they were out here cleaning the boats.
I did see it.
There they are, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon.
So those were just there? Like, it was just, I mean, how long ago was it?
You weren't paying attention, were you? You know who put them there? Aliens. Yeah. They've been there since the 60s. There were actually 12 at
Wait,
one
why is it
time.
called Seuss? Because that reminded me of Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, that's his cousin. God Seuss.
For him?
Show of hands who did not see the statues. Raise your hand if you did not see the statues. Anyone else see the statues? Fantastic. You don't have to throw anyone into that. All right, folks, that concludes our tour. Hope you enjoyed it. Tips are appreciated but not mandatory. World's largest tip jars right there in the class you've been looking through. It is a 100-year tradition. Folks, we do social media. Please take a minute to give us a review. Let us know we're doing well. Let us know where we can improve. Again, my name is Captain Sebastian. Anything less than a 5-star review, it's Skipper and Gilligan. Thank you so much, folks. I appreciate that.
Here you go, fishies.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that.
You can
All
do
right, please
that?
stay seated while we go.
You can put it on the floor? Yeah.
Yep, right on the glass. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, hang tight and we go.
definitely
which way the
another
wind's gonna
10, guys.
push
9,
us today.
10. It is fun.
Well, hopefully it's because I did a good job and you guys had fun, and you come back and see us again in the fall when the building is done, and we'll have